Right, so it might not be news to many right now that oil and gas, mostly gas, has been found off the Gazan coastline, and speculation that this might be what the genocide is really all about, or at least this might be the actual interests that foreign states have in the area, even though we all know we need to move away from fossil fuels. Well, adding fuel to the fire on this speculation has been news that even before the blood of the Gazan people is dry, Israel have been issuing drilling licenses to access these reserves, even though this is occupied territory. They have no right to be doing this, let alone any oil and gas corporations wanting to get involved in what is quite clearly disputed territory. Well, BP have gotten involved, one of 6 companies to accept a share of 12 illegally issued gas exploration licenses and more, sweeping in on the wreckage of Israeli atrocity to make a profit. And people, some people certainly, weren't going to accept that. Right, so the oil and gas industry champing at the bit to get into Gaza. It's not completely new news here, is it? We know that there's oil and gas to be found there. We know that BP and the like have wanted to get access to these gas reserves off the coast of Gaza. And we know that Rishi Sunak is very supportive of this. You see, Infosys have a substantial IT contract with BP, so the better BP does, the better Infosys does. Therefore, the bigger the payouts from Infosys to Sunak's wife, for whom Infosys is, of course, the family firm. There never seems to be anything in Sunak's actions that don't result in more money being made for himself. But this isn't about him directly. He's got enough on his plate for getting the answer to everything the COVID inquiry is apparently asking him, and a big vote tonight on his Rwanda deal, which it looks like he might lose, and possibly his job as PM with it. But that hasn't happened yet, so let's get back to the here and now. For now, Israel have issued exploratory drilling licenses, 12 of them, between 6 different drilling firms, one of which is BP. Well, why are you picking on BP specifically then, Damo? Well, they might be getting a little bit extra into the bargain, you see. Their greed, their cooperation with Israel goes a little bit further. You see, not only are they getting drilling licenses, access to these Gazan gas fields, they are also acquiring a 50% stake in NewMed, which is an Israeli drilling company, also being granted a license itself, incidentally. But they are owned by the Dalek Group. They're a subsidiary of this conglomerate called the Dalek Group. Nothing quite makes Israel sound more villainous than literally having a company named after a Doctor Who enemy, does it? But actually the company came first in the 1950s, so perhaps it was the other way around. At any rate, the Dalek Group is on a UN blacklist of companies complicit in illegal Israeli settlements in the West Bank. So why on earth would BP want to take half of a company owned by a blacklisted colonial settler insisting conglomerate? Do they want to be tainted by that too? It's got to be worth it for them, hasn't it, really? Well, by acquiring half of NewMed, BP then get access to the 45% stake that NewMed has in Leviathan, which is the name of the largest natural gas field in the Mediterranean, situated just off the Israeli coast. So you have BP granted a license to explore natural gas opportunities illegally off the coast of Gaza. These were granted before the events of the 7th of October, incidentally, so who says this genocide isn't also about oil and gas? And by getting access to the more northern Leviathan gas field off the Israel coast, can really gain a foothold in the area. And even if the exploratory drilling off Gaza comes to nothing, either by not finding anything, which seems unlikely given the height, or more likely gets deemed illegal and they're stopped somehow from doing it, but that requires enforcement to actually mean anything, they would still have Leviathan access to make things worthwhile for them. What they are doing is completely immoral, given Israel have prevented Gaza accessing this resource which belongs to them. Yet another violation of international law, by the way. But it all seems like win-win for BP here. Well, not everyone was going to take this on the chin, least of all protest group Fossil Free London, who rocked up to BP's headquarters and blockaded it last week. Out came the banners and the placards with messages reading, "Stop fueling genocide," or "Profits from oil but none from aid. Gazan genocide is British made." I quite like that one. Clearly linking the oil and gas company's dirty deal with ongoing genocide in Gaza, and you can't argue that point when they would be going in to explore an area they have no right to do so in, occupied territory as it is. The permissions, the licenses should be worthless, given those issuing them have no right to be doing so. Now, Fossil Free London, they don't exactly get the promotion in the press, I suppose, of other groups like Just Stop Oil, who are a fair bit bigger, but they aren't dissimilar in their aims. Fossil Free London on their website describe themselves as, "We exist to make London inhospitable to the fossil fuel industry. Oil giants like Shell and BP and the banks like Barclays that fund them are setting our house on fire. Their fossil fuel expansion is fueling climate collapse. They make mega profits from our unpayable energy bills. They lobby and greenwash to thwart climate action, and many of them call London home. As our politicians fail to act, we must take on these industries and organise for climate justice. And they do just that, using direct action, creative stunts, disruption and protest to tarnish the industry and attack its social licence, in their words. They were recently in action protesting outside of another oil and gas operator, Ithaca Energy, at the beginning of November, who are based in the North Sea, as far as their drilling operations are concerned anyway. Yet Fossil Free London protested them for also enabling genocide in Palestine, because just like NewMed, Ithaca Energy is also a subsidiary of the Dalek Group. More cash for Israel, especially when you think that in the North Sea, Ithaca own the Cambo oil field and part owns that newly opened, thanks to Sunak, Rosebank oil field. All of this furthering, thanks to Dalek Group's connection, more settler investment in the West Bank. A statement from Fossil Free London said, "It comes as no surprise that big oil is now sweeping in upon the wreckage, using this humanitarian crisis to dredge out profits from more oil and gas, just as they are doing in this global humanitarian crisis of climate collapse. Whilst we are all justifiably distracted and our attention taken up by the nation-on-nation attacks and the humanitarian catastrophe and the fight to see something get done about that, big business is doing what it does so often, so amorally, whilst our attention is focused elsewhere and looks for where a profit can be turned whilst nobody's looking at them. In BP's case, not even genocide, it seems, precludes them from seeing this as an opportunity. If they go forward with this, they should absolutely be blacklisted alongside Dalek Group for their role here, not just by the UN, but by all of us too. We can all pick another pump to fill up at, can't we? Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content out daily. Please do have your say on this story in the comments below and be part of the conversation. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation where if you think you can't have an effect by protesting in your own small way, individuals, ordinary people from across the country just last week managed to shut down 4 arms supply factories to Israel in disgust at the UK's part in this genocide. So we can, and we do have an effect, and we can repeat it as often and for as long as necessary, and you can be part of that as well. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.